On today's episode of Conversations in the Light, I'm interviewing Carissa Sims. She is the co-founder of GIAN KAMAL. She's been an entrepreneur and a consultant for the past 21 years. Mrs. Sims is the host of Zen Success Show, best-selling author of Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, and a best-selling children's book author. She's a mom, a teacher, corporate consultant, and spiritual healer. After helping hundreds of people as a healer, she was diagnosed with cancer in 2020 and began the interpersonal journey of healing herself, successfully healing her body without Western medicine from a traditional professor at the University of Southern California. To corporate executive room at Amazon, Google, Fox, and more, she is now on a massive mission to help heal the world, share with others, and inspire that they too can heal themselves. She has studied meditation and spiritual healing and has learned to master her own healing abilities. For over 10 years, she has worked as a spiritual healer and has changed people's lives, relieving pain, healing disease, and removing abundance blocks. I'm excited to share with you Carissa Sims. Carissa, I am so excited to have you here today, and I'm excited for you to share your story of healing, because basically your story is healing after healing after healing, physical, mental, emotional, all of the above. And I'm really excited to see where spirit takes us today and what words of wisdom you're going to have for the audience.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on your show, Conversations in the Light. I feel so in alignment with that energy and frequency. And it's interesting. I'm not sure why this is coming up, but I was at the gym and I was watching this show and it was not about the light. And then I was kept trying to not to watch. And I just feel like there needs to be more programs like this, and people need to have this frequency and vibration in their life. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yes. So my healing journey. At the time of my diagnosis, I was married, and this was in 2020. So February 2020, I got the call that there was something in my test results that was concerning, and they thought it could be cancer. And I was really struck back by that because my father had died in 2017 from a cancer diagnosis and the treatment subsequently after. So it was interesting that I would have this journey coming up a few years later in my own life. So I went to get subsequent testing, MRI and everything, and it was true. I did have cancer in my cervix. And I had a lot of fear, to be honest. I felt also like a fraud because at the time, I never told you this, Michelle, but I was having clients. I had spiritual clients that I was working with, helping them to heal in their own lives. And to have this happen to me, I felt a little bit, I was probably in my ego before, where I was like, oh, healers, they can't get disease. I had all these beliefs, that that like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not a healer. Maybe I'm not here to empower people and help them heal themselves. So I had a lot of doubts in my own abilities and gifts. And another thing is I didn't really want to share with many people. So because what I noticed when I would share, they looked at me like I was dead already or going to be dying soon. And I just didn't feel that for myself. And I had 2 young kids. I still have 2 kids, and they were my saving grace. I just held them in my mind and saw me with them in the future. I held on to that feeling, to that feeling of completely being healed, being with my kids, living a full life. So part of my healing journey was, for me, not sharing it with a lot of people because I felt judged and that I was going to die.
Yeah. I mean, right. And here's what I'll tell you is, like, a medium and working with energy, kind of the last thing you want to do is own your diagnosis. You want it to be a situation. You want it to be more movable. And then when people are putting that level of energy on you, it's very hard to be able to wiggle your way into your own alignment.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I love that perspective. So I didn't know that, but intuitively I did, right, Michelle? Because I was like, okay, if I don't associate like this is mine, then maybe it's temporary. Maybe it's a learning experience. So, going to the doctor. So my doctor told me to go to a specialist, and I went. And the standard of care, standard treatment is a radical hysterectomy. So that's, removing all my feminine parts. And it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was the right thing to do, even though the medical profession, everyone says this is what you need to do. I just said, look, I want to try healing it on myself. But I didn't know if I could do it. I was scared, to be honest, to not follow it. But something inside me just said, just try, and I said, I'll give myself a year. But it ended up being 15 months that it took for the healing after I got tested and everything. But I mean, I did so many things for my healing, but I think the first one is what Michelle touched on, not owning it, not having that correlation. Like, I have this cancer. This cancer is inside of me. But I want to share something because this was such a beautiful journey. And I didn't realize this myself. I was working with another healer. But they told me to start to talk to the cells. So I started asking, why are you here? And oh my gosh, it was just so beautiful talking to my body every day, sending it love. And I would also do my own healing. I would visualize like waves of the ocean. And again, this is not mine. This is from another healer that I was working with, to have the cleanse my womb, my sacred womb. So I also worked with a psychologist because I had trauma, abuse and rape, and I was in denial of it. So I went through that and actually released the energy of these perpetrators inside of me, which was really interesting.
Wow, what an amazing story. And just even what I want to say is the courage it took you to say, I'm going to heal myself, but in a different way. And not even having a roadmap for what that looked like, but trusting each next step with your intuition.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And so I did work with healers along the way. I worked with like one healer that was also a nutritionist. And I did, but previously, I just want to talk a little bit about diet because I feel like healing is a combination of what you do in the 3D or 5D world, and then environment, what you're eating and everything. And then there's the spiritual side. So I feel like they need to come together. It's not one or the other, but I feel like sometimes if you eat healthy, if you're doing all the right things in your body, you actually become more open to the healing. You become in the light. You become like a lighter vibration. So I think it really helps. I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I was on a keto diet, eating basically meat and cheese, and I didn't eat a lot of vegetables. So, I mean, I'm not saying some people can thrive on that, but I just felt like I needed to change. And so now I went to a vegan diet.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing because it is true. It's about alignment, body, mind, and spirit, and also working with your body, which is individual for everyone. So some people do really well on keto, some people do well on vegan. just depending on what that body type is. That's such a great way of looking at it, and also individualizing it for what works for you.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't think healing from cancer is like a roadmap or a prescription, because I feel like, oh, I learned this from Michelle in Soul Plan. You know, Michelle has this incredible course. You have to, if you haven't purchased it yet, you need to. It's so helpful, because you start to look at the higher picture. So the plan, like my body, I probably even manifested it, because I remember this moment when my dad had cancer and I was trying to help him, trying to help heal him in all these different ways, and naturally too, and these different supplements. And I said to myself, if I had cancer, I would do it this way.
Wow.
I
Oh my.
literally probably manifested it, right?
Wow. That is really interesting. The other way of looking at that is you kind of had a premonition that maybe it was coming, and you knew how you would handle it if it happened.
Oh, see, there you go. And I like that. Maybe I was being a little bit psychic about my life and path, and
Yeah.
having something like that. I have to be honest, I don't wish this on anyone. It was like a journey of like the depths of despair and not sure if I would survive, to feeling like I had more joy, more energy, and more happiness than I ever knew possible. So it was really interesting, because sometimes people think when you have cancer, you have a certain amount of like lower energy. You can't do certain things. And I just have to say, I feel, in my opinion, it's a myth. I feel like it's the treatment. It's the treatment that gives you bad energy. And that is my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has got to do what works for them. And what I love is you have a situation that worked for you, and it's going to work for some other people too when it feels in alignment with them. So thank you so much for just sharing that with us. I want to talk a little bit about your niece who transitioned from suicide and the experience around her, because this is something that unfortunately I have in common with you, is losing a loved one to suicide. And that creates, as a medium, what I've seen, a different level of challenge. People transitioning is hard anyway, but when someone transitions by suicide, it gives everyone connected to them a different layer of grief that they have to figure out how they're going to work through. And so I'd love to talk to you a little bit about her, your story with her, and where you're at today.
Yes. So thank you for asking about that. So that was about 18 years ago, when I was at a retreat in Sedona. Where do you live, Michelle?
I'm in Phoenix area.
You're in Phoenix. Okay. So I was at a retreat in Arizona, and it was a healer, and they were going through these processes, and he felt my niece was with me, her spirit. And at that time, I'll have to say, maybe I had this ability, but I was not aware of spirits. I was not aware of them around me or around other people or anything like that. So he saw that the spirit needed help. Like, she wanted to be free, ascend to heaven. Some people may call it purgatory, but I believe it's self-imposed because of, if it's like an accident or shame or guilt, if there's any kind of emotions, not feeling worthy to go to heaven or meet God. So there was a lot of that going on in her life, and she was 19. And we had a lot of hopes for her. She was an incredible singer, and she used to sing that song from the Titanic, My Heart Will Go On. And they played that at the funeral, and it was just so moving. And at that time of the funeral, I thought that death was the end. I didn't know there's a whole other world. So you're a psychic medium. You know this, of like spirits that are just like there, in another dimension. So this activated this ability within me. So he saw the spirit. We did this together. We ascended her spirit to heaven. And I feel at that point, it activated that within me and attracted clients that needed help with that, either spirits that were attached to them or ghosts in the home, whatever it might be. I started to feel very comfortable with the spirit world.
Right. Oh, wow. So that might have been part of your soul plan with her, that if she made that choice, it would activate you to step into your higher calling.
Yeah, maybe. And I'll have to say, it was the most beautiful experience I have ever had of feeling that spirit. I just like was moved to tears of
Mhm.
like feeling her freedom after. It was a really amazing. And I didn't know that I could feel so much love.
Yeah, and the beauty too is that that's almost, to me, feels like a shared death experience, although it was a little bit later on. So it didn't happen right at that moment, but you were able to feel the love and the compassion and the light and everything that she was stepping into, because she was kind of transmitting that frequency to you.
Oh, maybe. And I feel like, Michelle, do you feel like everybody at the retreat could feel it too?
So I feel like, yes, for people who were sensitive, and whether someone consciously felt it or not, it would have had an energetic ripple effect on them. So what
Mhm.
would have happened is you would have probably felt, people would have felt more uplifted. One of the beauties about me getting to do readings and connecting with angels and guides and loved ones is I get to kind of touch heaven every single day. And when you have that connection, you get to feel that love and that light, and that even if somebody had a horrific passing, when I am connecting with them in spirit, I'm connecting with their love and light, right? And so it does have a ripple effect in a community when you're in that type of environment.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe not as extreme as with me or the other healer while we were facilitating this. It's so beautiful what you said. You get to touch heaven every day. That's amazing. I love that. I want to touch heaven more.
Well, I think this is awesome because it's actually available to all of us, right?
Hmm.
It's not just because I'm a psychic medium, but I'm doing this consciously and I'm doing it to help people access information that they need. But that ability to touch heaven, it is kind of, I want to say, within all of us, because it's about us going within to that divine spark and then being able to touch it. And that's really where we're finding like this love and light that's always available to us. But yeah, so I love that you got to touch heaven. And I feel like you do that in your work regularly, with your book, with your own healing, with the healing work you do for others, working with humanities team, on and on.
Oh, thank you so much. So, and I'm just feeling called to make a little bit of a connection. So sometimes, okay, this is my opinion, and I'm not sure what Michelle thinks about this. We can have our ancestors pass on, or we can carry on some of their burdens, and sometimes they can miss us and stay with us a little bit longer because they didn't spend much time with us on the earth plane. They're feeling guilty. They really enjoy us. They want to help guide us and all of that. So there's different levels of spirits coming to you. My grandparents, I didn't spend that much time with them, but they were with me. They, in that case, it was important to ascend them because they were always with me. So it was a heaviness. So I feel
Mhm.
like there's a difference. Like what Michelle's talking about, like connecting with the spirits on the other side, you're communicating, but they are in heaven and they can always come and talk to you. But there's also some spirits that stay a little bit longer and I feel need a little bit more help and guidance. And what I want to say is it can lead to things that are surprising, like mental illness, like disease, because it's like you're carrying on those burdens of your ancestors.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that that's possible. I feel like sometimes souls are afraid to cross all the way over into the light. They're either worried that they're going to be judged, or they have some unfinished business here on planet Earth, or there are reasons why they might choose to hang around a little bit longer. And ideally, as a medium, what I would say, I want all your people and loved ones in the light, and they're still connected to you. Because when I'm working with someone, if their loved one's not in the light, they're not able to help them in the same ways that they would be able to from that heavenly realm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was doing a healing on one of my clients. She was having depression, and I saw her mom, the spirit of her mom was stuck in her lower back. And when I released that spirit, her depression was gone. It was like about a 5-minute healing process. So I thought that was interesting that she was taking on the burdens of her.
Let me ask you this. This is genuinely a question. So, do you feel that that was truly the spirit of her mom, or do you feel that that was her sadness associated with her mom's transition? Which, because I kind of believe that things can take on a life of their own, right? If we give it enough space. Like a thought, how many times do we run away with our thought, good or bad? You know what I mean? So when you were moving into that, because I've never had that experience, did it literally feel like her mother, or did it feel like the pain and depression and association with her mother's transition?
Yeah, it literally felt like her mother. It felt like two separate entities. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's how I can distinguish it, because there can be exactly what you're saying. Something can take on a life of their own, or you can take on those qualities and you don't have to have a spirit attached to you. There's like so many things like that could be your mom's pattern, and you just take it on because that's what you're repeating. That's what you saw, or you feel guilty because maybe you didn't say all that you wanted to say. So then you hold on to that. So I feel like there's so many things with emotions. And that was my first book, actually, Change Your Energy, Change Your Life. That was about expressing so-called negative emotions like anger. And I was saying that anger wasn't mine. It was my grandmother's.
Wow.
So in relation to this, in this situation, I could tell it was her because I could feel the joy and an energy from my client. And then this was like a separate, darker energy, which still could be emotions. But in this case, I felt it was the spirit of her mother that passed.
Wow, that's amazing. No, it just is, and that you could feel it in the way that you felt it.
Mhm.
Because to me, that's like, so when you're doing your healing work, obviously you're working interdimensionally with the energy that you're channeling, and what kind of things are coming to you when you're doing a healing session? Are you feeling things from their angels or their guides, or do you have your own team that is supporting you and saying, hey, move your hand over to the right 2 inches, or like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I really love the ascended masters. I love Buddha and Jesus. I just feel like their energy is like unconditional love. But this is what I do for when I have a healing session, and I do it mostly remotely. Occasionally I'll do in person by request. So I'll call in my guides, angels, archangels, ascended masters, Akashic lords, goddesses. So I call in all of that from me, and then also from my client. So I call in all of their guides. So they're all helping, and we're all in this soup together. And sometimes the ancestors, So we're
Yes.
all in this spiritual vibe together. But when it comes to the healing piece, I find that Kuan Yin, Jesus, Buddha, they rise to the surface, and they so want to serve that they're just in there. So when I'm doing removing the block or whatever it might be, then
Mhm.
they're really coming to the front and helping with the healing and removing the blocks. But I'll also say sometimes I'm not an Akashic Records reader, but their past life influences will start to come in. Like I'll get one past life and okay, this is what we need to bring up. This is influencing you in your life today, creating a block, creating a pattern that you really didn't know the source of. So like, for example, one client kept repeating bad relationships. And I saw her in a past life as a princess and all of this, having to be wed to someone else, but she was in love with someone else. And so there was all this drama. And anyway, so she was able to get into a healthy relationship once we healed that within a couple of months.
Wow. That's amazing. Did she feel that? Or did she just come to you saying, you know, because I'm like, how do these people find you? Where is she just like, something's not right, or I fell out of alignment? Or did she specifically come to you to work on that issue?
So that's interesting. She did not come to me. I don't think she thought it was a big deal. But I just said, this is coming up as something that we could work on to heal. She was coming for more anxiety, depression, like those kind of feelings, which I feel like really when people come, I mean, it's hard because sometimes people, when they have suicidal thoughts, they don't want help. But other people, so I get referrals. So, so in working with someone who does have suicidal thoughts, I can really help bring them to the light and realize that it's temporary. So anyway, that's what she was coming to me for.
Wow. That's amazing. I find this so interesting. I love the way that you work, you know, and I love too, that you spend your time like helping other people awaken. Your whole life, in so many ways that I've seen you, is in service to humanity. And how do you help them, one person at a time or 20 people at a time, or, you know, with whatever endeavor it is that you're taking on, I can actually truly see how you live a life of service and to helping people better their own lives.
Yeah, thank you for seeing that. I appreciate it. So it's really rewarding. And I think it's like what you touched on earlier is that we're going to the heavenly realms, and it's so joyful, and to awaken people to their gifts and healing abilities, because it's not like I'm healing them. I'm just facilitating their plan that they came here to do, and maybe helping them heal a little bit faster, facilitating this so that they can live their best life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You're holding this space for them to step into their full potential.
Yes. And a lot of my clients, they become very clairvoyant and start seeing other realities, and they may think they're going crazy, but that's it. They're just starting to come into their clairs and their gifts.
Yeah. Wow. This is, yeah, all fascinating to me. All fascinating. I love the way that you work. And I love the way watching so many, you know, light workers, for lack of another word, and how they all work so differently, and how everyone brings like their own little unique piece to the puzzle, and it works and it changes lives.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really interesting, you know, a lot of my clients, I'm just so surprised. I have to be honest, surprised that it worked. Like like curses or demonic possession. There's like all these things that like they're crazier than the series Stranger Things or whatever, you know, and or any movie. I'm like, yeah, that stuff happens, and it's even crazier than that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What an adventure your soul has chosen.
Yes. Well, it's helped me to feel safe and grounded no matter what. So, anyway.
Yeah. So what kind of things scare you? And I'm just being real honest, because you have this connection to spirit world. You have
Mhm.
healed your own cancer. You have, you know, so are you feeling pretty much like, I've got this, this is going to be okay?
Well, I mean, I'm single, so I have fears of like being alone, not finding love again. I have fears of my kids, something happening to them. And I'll have to say, I stay grounded also with that and breathe through it and just and
Mhm.
okay, everything's going to be okay, because I don't want to put that energy, that worrying energy out there. But I
Yeah.
do have my own fears, but I don't have fears of like ghosts. I'm
Right.
sorry, I had to laugh about it because
You're like, I'm not afraid of ghosts,
they
demons, or God.
they're afraid of me, but maybe I'm just
Oh
kidding,
my
kind of. But anyway, but I think it's important. And so if anyone listening, I don't know why I'm saying this, but if you feel like your house is haunted or you have a spirit, you are in control. Step into your power and you can talk to them. Ask them, why are you here? Don't be afraid, because sometimes, just like humans, there's nefarious humans that don't have good intentions. Sometimes there's ghosts that are stuck and they don't realize it, or, like that movie, The Sixth Sense. But as humans, there's a hierarchy and we have the power to ask them to leave. But if you need help, reach out.
No, I love that. And you're right. People do have the ability to do so much more than they realize. So I feel like the work that you do, the work that I do, I mean, people might not ever get to the level where they want to do it professionally and help other people in this way. But everyone's soul is so strong and powerful, and they're here for a reason. And this is about stepping into who they came to be on a soul level, not just the human version of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of this, like death and suicide, I take your wisdom, Michelle, because you've been through a lot in regards to that. And it's just interesting when you think about everyone has a plan and we're all connected, then the way they died is, you can handle it more. I mean, I can handle it more. Like, how could that happen? How could they choose? But it's just a technicality in a way. Like, my niece, for example, was meant to move on to be a gift for me in my life.
Right. Yeah, and she's absolutely fulfilling that for you.
Yeah.
A and I would also say heaven doesn't care how you show up there. It doesn't
That's
care
nice.
if it was cancer or a car accident or suicide. I mean, you are met with love and compassion and understanding no matter
Mhm.
how you get there. And the beautiful thing about your niece is that she is doing a lot of great work in the heavenly realm. She's still touching earth every single day in multiple ways, and now she's in that peaceful environment for her. And so I think that's so important, and the fact that you can see the connection between her, your communication, and your life moving forward, it's huge because she gets to live vicariously through you as you experience all of the beautiful work that you can do.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And she did come to me before. Did I release? Um, it was, oh yeah, she came to me after I released her spirit. I was trying to tune in about the timeline. Yeah. When
Mhm.
I was with her dad, because her dad is my uncle, and she committed suicide when she was staying with her dad. Her parents were divorced. So he was having guilt, and she said, tell him it's not his fault.
Yeah.
And he was really moved by that. I don't know if he like really believed it, that it was her, because it
Mhm.
was spontaneous and I never shared anything like that before.
Yeah. Well, it feels like he really believed it. And I will say this for anyone who's dealing with somebody who transitioned by suicide, by the time they get to that point, there is nothing that could have intervened, because what I know from spirit world and human world is if there was an intervention that could have happened that would have changed the trajectory, it would have, because spirit world very much wants to encourage us to live to be 100, to follow our soul plan, to do all of these things. But when there comes to that point in time where there is no intervention left possible, then that soul does choose to leave. And no, again, it doesn't matter how they got there. Heaven welcomes them with love and compassion.
Yeah. And for some reason, this is coming to me about it. Also, it could be their plan to live and to have this be their almost died, their rock bottom, so that they can live a fuller life and help others and maybe prevent suicide for other people. So, Michelle and I aren't saying that it's okay, and that it's devastating, for everyone involved. But what we're saying, when it's time to go, it's time to go. But there are people out there that are struggling and simply need a helping hand, these conversations with the light. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can be that for them, those listening.
Absolutely. I think that is one thing that this world needs so much more of right now: love, compassion, and understanding. Understanding, not to be confused with agreement. I don't have to agree with someone, but I can understand they're having a hard time, right? And so you're still entitled to be sovereign, but anytime we can share love, compassion, and understanding, the ripple effect really does make this world such a better place.
Yeah, and you just never know, even just to smile or recognizing people, looking them in the eye, seeing their humanness can help wake them up to maybe go on a different path or not commit suicide. So that's why I think it's always nice to connect with people, even though it's harder now more than ever, because people have their AirPods in and they just want to be isolated, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get ready to wrap up, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share with the listeners?
Well, I would say that you are all a gift. You are all a gift to humanity. And yes, you may have gifts to share, and you can do that, but also just being you is a gift and an important part of the web of humanity. So don't forget that you matter to everyone on this planet and you make a difference. So hold that in your heart.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You are a beautiful soul with a beautiful mission, and I am honored to have had you on here today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.